Good morning, students. Welcome to your English class. In our today's class, we will start a new chapter from your English literature book. It is lesson number 4, 3 at Table, written by William Weimar Jacobs. But before reading the chapter, let's read about him. William Weimar Jacobs, 1863 to 1943. He was an English author of short stories and novels. He began work in the Post Office Savings Bank and had his first story published in the year 1885. His favorite subject was marine life. Let's now start with the text, but before that, let's quickly go through a few word meanings. You can write these word meanings in your textbooks for better understanding of the text. Sailors always have tales about their voyages around the world. Read a story about a veteran sailor who one day decided to go out for a walk in the English countryside. Here is his narration about a strange incident. So, sailors are the people, those who generally travel by the ships, and here is his narration about a strange incident. They always have something or the other to tell about their voyages. Voyages are their traveling experiences, and a veteran means experienced, someone who's experienced in a field, in a certain field. Let's start with the story. The talk in the coffee room was about ghosts. I wouldn't advise you to believe all those, said a clean shaven man who had been listening without speaking much. So there was a man who was clean shaven and who was listening without speaking too much. He advised that I wouldn't advise you to believe all those, which means that he would not advise to believe in ghosts. You see, when a sailor gets ashore, he is expected to have something good to tell, and his friends would be rather disappointed if he had not. So, sailors are expected to always have something good to tell to their friends, and if they don't, then their friends would be disappointed. Oh, sailors are very prone to see visions, interrupted another man firmly. So, there was another man who interrupted, saying that, oh, the sailors are very prone to see visions. They are more likely to see things in their dreams or imaginations. I've been at sea 30 years, and the only unpleasant incident of that kind occurred in a quiet English countryside, said the clean shaven man. Now, the clean shaven man says that he had been at the sea, or he had been at the duty or at sea for 30 years, and he has had only one unpleasant incident, and that occurred in a quiet English countryside. Now he narrates that incident. I was a young man at that time, he began. I had just come back from China. My family was away, so I invited myself to stay with an uncle. When I reached the place, I found it closed, so I decided to put up at the Royal George, a very decent inn. So here the sailor has started his narration, and he says that he was a young man at that time, and he had just came back from China and his family was away. So he invited himself to stay with an uncle, but when he reached the uncle's place, he found it closed. So he decided to stay at a decent inn. The name of the inn was Royal George. The next morning, after a late breakfast, I set off for a brisk day's walk. The day was bright and frosty. I lunched luxuriously on bread and cheese in a small inn and decided to go a little further before turning back. So the next morning, after getting up, the sailor had breakfast. He had late breakfast. He's also describing the day. The day was bright and frosty, and he says that he lunched luxuriously on bread and cheese in a small inn and decided to go on a little further before turning back. So he decided to go for a walk. When I found I had gone far enough, I turned up at a lane at right angles to the road I was passing to find my way back by another route. So he found that he was quite far away from where he started. He decided to turn back and take another route to find his way back. But this had several turnings of its own. There were several more turnings, so he got confused. I was soon caught up in a fog and wandered about miserably, occasionally shouting on the chance of being heard by some passing shepherd. So he was soon caught up in the fog, and he was miserably wandering here and there, and he was occasionally shouting so that someone could hear him. Luckily, I heard footsteps approaching me. A sturdy looking countryman, hearing me shout, walked back with me for nearly a mile and gave me instructions how to reach the closest village some 3 miles distant. Finally, the sailor met a stranger who was a sturdy looking man, and he guided him away to reach the closest village, which was some 3 miles distant. The 3 miles sounded like 10 because he had been walking from a long time. A little way off from the road, I pointed to a dimly lit window, but my companion shuddered and looked round him uneasily. Now he just pointed out at a dimly lit window, but the person who was guiding him the way, he shuddered and he was surprised and he looked quite uneasy. "It's no good there," he said hastily. Curiously, the sailor asked, "Why not?" "There is something there, sir," he replied. "Some say it's a poor mad thing, others say it's a kind of an animal, but whatever it is, it ain't good to see." The stranger replied that there is something. Some people say that it's a poor mad thing, or some say that it's an animal, but whatever it is, it's not a good sight. "Well then," I said, "good night." He wished good night to him and he followed the road. I followed the road that the man had indicated until it again split into three. Now the sailor followed the road that the stranger had indicated until it again split into three. So there were three more roads that road led to. I was now cold and tired, so walked slowly back towards the house until I came to a small gate. It was very cold, and the sailor was feeling cold and tired, so he slowly walked back towards the house until he came to a small gate. Opening it cautiously, I walked up a long path which led to the door. So he opened the main small gate and he went in cautiously or carefully, and he reached the door. There was no light and no sound from within. I knocked lightly upon the door. There was no sound from within, so he knocked lightly upon the door. I waited for a couple of minutes and then knocked again. The door opened suddenly, and a tall, bony old woman holding a candle stood before me. He waited for some time and then knocked again. The door suddenly opened, and what did he see? He saw a tall, bony old woman. Bony means a skinny person. bony old woman holding a candle stood before me. So this lady was standing right before him. "What do you want?" she demanded roughly, which means she roughly asked him what did he want. "I've lost my way," I said. "I want to get to Asheville." Now the sailor says that he had lost his way and he wanted to reach Asheville. The woman replied, "Don't know it." She said, "Don't know about it." She was about to close the door when a man emerged from a room at the side of the hall and came toward us. When this woman was about to close the door, suddenly a man emerged from the room at the side of the hall and he came towards them. "Asheville is 15 miles far," he said slowly. The man said that Asheville is 15 miles far. "If you will direct me to the nearest village, I shall be grateful," I remarked. The sailor asked the old man that if he would direct him to the nearest village, he shall be thankful to him. "The nearest place is 3 miles off." The old man said that the nearest place is 3 miles off, just like that stranger told. "If you will give me the pleasure of your good company, I will make you as comfortable as I can." The old man at this said that it would be pleasure for him if he could accompany them. He would make him as comfortable as he could. The sailor hesitated. They were certainly a queer looking couple. Queer means strange. They were certainly a strange looking couple. That's why the sailor hesitated, and the gloomy hall with the shadows thrown by the candle looked hardly more pleasant than the darkness outside.
So, students, I hope you've all understood the story till here. We will continue the second part of the story in our next class. Till then, take care, stay home, stay safe.